All right, let's move on to the next article. Um, so this article says Gen Z is getting hooked on bed rotting, lying in bed with a phone for hours without getting up for doing anything at all. Bed rotting is a Gen Z trend where individuals spend extended time in bed, not for sleep or illness, but for passive activities like scrolling or watching content. Popularized on TikTok, it is often framed as self care and a response to stress, burnout, and societal pressure. While short periods can provide rest and relaxation, excessive bed rotting may indicate deeper mental health struggles as prolonged inactivity and heavy social media use can harm well being and reflect behavioral shutdown. Oh my goodness. um, I was just having a conversation about this very, not this very topic, but about Gen Z with my client yesterday. We were training. I was training him yesterday, and he was having an issue with one of his nieces, or I think that he takes care of, that he supports. And I'm not gonna say, obviously I'm not gonna say his name, but he was just telling me that one of his nieces, she's on drugs, and she's a Gen Z kid. She's about 22, 23. He supports her. He was giving her money because her parents, I guess her parents aren't supporting her or not really in the picture. So he's supporting her. And he was telling me, man, I had to cut her off. I said, why? He said, because I found out she was doing drugs. I'm like, okay, what type of drugs are we talking about here? Are we talking about like Xanax? Are we talking about Molly, cocaine? Like what type of drugs are we talking about? Do you know what this man said? He said, she's doing crack. I said, bro, who the fuck is doing crack in 2025? He said, I don't know. Apparently she is. So that to me is the craziest shit I've ever heard. We got fentanyl, we got Molly, we got Tusi, but crack in 2025 is insane, bro. That shit is in fucking sane. But but the point of this is Gen Z is lost, man. Gen Z is really lost. They have a serious issue right now. And part of me kind of feels bad for them only because if you're 22, 23 right now, you're kind of in that weird stage because you're still coming off from the after effects of COVID. Because when COVID hit, you were around 17, 18, really in a critical part of your years in high school. You might have been a junior, senior in high school, or maybe even a sophomore. Um, so right now, you're really in that, like, you're really coming off of a lot of trauma from COVID. A lot of them had to sit in the house, be away from, you know, society, really. Like, we were all locked down 5 years ago. I remember where I was 5 years ago. I was locked in the fucking house. Um, and a lot of them, they missed a lot of important events. A lot of them couldn't go to the prom. A lot of them couldn't really walk at their graduation. A lot of them, just a lot of important events that I had and many others before me had, they missed, man. And it was very unorthodox with the way the world was going at that time. So I can only imagine the after effects that has caused them to act in the way they do. Because I get on Gen Z kids a lot, man. I'm like, these motherfuckers are awkward. They don't really look you in the eye. They're weird. They don't really think. They have no self awareness. But then part of me has to realize, man, they, a lot of them are traumatized, and a lot of them don't even realize that they're traumatized. So part of me has to have empathy. So this whole bed rotting thing, I'm not surprised by it because I've always said, man, if you're gonna be on social media, you have to find a way to be a producer of social media, not a consumer. Be a producer. Because the one thing that's going to happen to you if you're on social media long enough is you're going to play that comparison game. That comparison game is inevitable. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. Because you're going to see your peers on there. You're going to see your classmates that you went to high school with. Some of them have probably made it big. You're going to see your influencer that's out and flexing money that they probably don't have, but it looks good for the gram, right? They're on yachts, they're flying, traveling to a whole different destination, to a new location. They're in a mansion, they're driving a Lamborghini. Comparison is the thief of joy. And this is what's happening. You know, a lot of these things where they're talking about, they're trying to cope with burnout and all this stress. Man, a lot of these motherfuckers don't want to work anyway. Let's be honest. A lot of them don't want to work anyway. So what are you being burnt out from? That part I have to hold them accountable because a lot of them are not hard workers anyway. I know a lot of Gen Z kids that are straight. They just, you know, they're pretty much going to live at home for a majority of their life, which is very sad because a lot of them just weren't equipped with the right tools to really do anything of value, man. Not I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them now are they're really seeing the real world for what it is and it's not pretty. And I'm glad I got my ass kicked early. You know what I'm saying? I got my ass kicked early. I went to the Wolves. I went to one of the hardest places to ever, you know, make it, right? I went to Los Angeles at 21 years old. I seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I got my ass whooped more times than not. Got my ass whooped. But I saw the world for what it was, man. And it really shaped me and made me a better man because of it. It really opened my eyes to a lot of what's going on out here and how the world really operates and functions. A lot of them really haven't done that. They kind of just they've been coddled, you know. They're 25 years old and their parents still treat them like a child because they haven't grown up. Mentally they're still 17, 16, but biologically they're 25, 26 years old and they really haven't experienced anything. So really their only outlet is to lay in bed, watch other people live their lives, watch other people build shit and do amazing things, and they can't do nothing but sit back and just scroll on TikTok all fucking day, on Instagram, just scrolling their life away, just scrolling down, on YouTube, whatever the case is. Like they're just they're escaping reality. This is why they're doing a lot of drugs and they're vaping a lot. Like this is the result of that. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be an interesting. I would say that I want to see the next 10 years how the world is gonna be. Um, because if they're 23, 24 now, they're gonna be 34 in 10 years, and they'll be in the position where they're getting groomed to take over. Because I'm 30 right now. In 10 years, I'll be 40. My demographic, the late millennials. I'm a late millennial, right? I'm right before Gen Z. I'm like 2 years before Gen Z. So I'm a very late millennial or early millennial, if you must. Um, so my group is really gonna be in that driver's seat. But we're grooming the generation before us to take over soon. So it's gonna be interesting to see, man. I doubt they're gonna break this habit, bro. Because if you really built up this type of these type of habits at 24, 25, and you really haven't seen the world yet, you haven't experienced anything. You've just been living at your parents' house all throughout college, all throughout high school, and you really haven't traveled, you haven't done anything, man. I'm not trying to say they have no hope, but man, it's going to be extremely hard for them to break that cycle. Like it's going to take a mental shift for them to get out of that mindset. Because really, that's a mindset. The fact that you're putting yourself in a victim category. Oh, I'm just gonna lay in bed all day because I'm stressed. You know, I'm burnt out. I want to escape. That is a victim mindset. And people with victim mindset usually don't become anything. They usually become losers, if we're being honest. Think about everybody that you know that has a victim mindset. Are they winners? Are they anybody that does anything of significance or of value? You know, are they someone that you look at and be like, you know what, he's gonna be somebody, she's gonna be somebody? No, not really. The answer is 9 times out of 10, shit, 10 times out of 10 is usually no. They're probably gonna become fucking losers, low key communists, socialists, and they're gonna be anti-capitalism. But that's a whole different story. You know what I'm saying? So uh those people usually never amount to shit, man. So it's gonna take a it's gonna take a wake up call for them to really get out of that victim mindset, because that bed rotting shit, man, that's only gonna lead to depression and many other things that a lot of them are not prepared for, you know. And their parents doesn't make it any easier. Their parents are gonna keep calling them. A lot of their parents are failing them as parents. Um, So it's going to be interesting to see, man, within the next 10 years. So